Spider-Man. What a good hero. I could say the same thing about the game too, except I want to actually make this video entertaining. Spider-Man has more games than you can count, with some of them being hit or miss. Usually a lot of hits, but very rarely will they be misses. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. When this game was first announced, everyone was hyped. Skeptical, of course, and rightfully so, but nonetheless, they were taking inches of what Insomniac had to offer. And Insomniac is not an unknown name. No, they made games like Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet & Clank, Sunset Overdrive, and more. If anyone knew how to make an open-world action-adventure game, it was Insomniac. But Insomniac had a lot on their shoulders. Not only were they making a brand new Spider-Man game, but they were also making a new Spider-Man game completely unique to the Spider-Man mythos. They were taking the Spider-Man brand and making it its own. And did they succeed? Considering that I 100% completed the game, I say they succeeded. But that's a little bit of a spoiler for the final ranking. So for now, I'm Mr. Galaxy Cat, and today we're reviewing Spider-Man PS4. Or Marvel's Spider-Man as its official title. Keep in mind, I'm going to be reviewing the remastered version of the game that was re-released for PS5. I know some people don't like that version because of the mod they used for Peter, but come on, it's still the same Spider-Man game. So without further ado, members of Team Shadow, video game enthusiasts, both over and new alike who want to see this game is worthy of collection or not. Spoilers, it is. Let's get started. The story of Marvel's Spider-Man goes as follows. You play as Peter Parker, obviously, who gets ready to fight the Kingpin one last time. After breaking into his building and easily defeating him and his men, you finally lock him up, before he foreshadows that this city won't be safe without him, and they'll be wishing that Kingpin was back to rule the underground. And that's it? Psych. It turns out that he was right, because it's a new crime syndicate called the Demons, aiming to destroy New York City and attack Norman Osborn. So it's up to you, as a spider, with the help of Dr. Otto Octavius, to fight the demons and save the world. That is, until the endgame approaches. You see, over the course of the game, we've been helping Dr. Otto Octavius making these little neural interfaces. What was supposed to be a replacement for limb detachments soon turns into something a lot more deadly. Because Norman Osborn has been trying to get Otto back to work at Oscorp, but Otto, for some reason, doesn't want to do that. But we're too busy trying to figure out who Mr. Negative is. Oh yeah, because he's totally not Martin Lee. So we can stop the demons and, well, as I mentioned, save the world. But after we lock Martin Lee up, Doc Ock has finally reached his breaking point. With the help of the neural interface, his mind has been distorted and his desires become twisted as he goes into Rikers and frees the prisoners and forms the Sinister Six. It is there that Spidey must now defeat and re-lock up his arch nemesis before going to fight Ock one last time. So we defeat him, get the cure of the Devil's Breath, and the story ends with Aunt May dying. While 3 months later, we reflect on the whole situation, trying to find a new place to live. So overall, very fun. I love this story. Insomniac absolutely knocked it out of the park with their own original story. From Martin Lee to Devil's Breath. Oh crap, I forgot to mention about Devil's Breath. To Miles Morales, to the foreshadowing of Dr. Octopus, and even Venom. Please, 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 Venom, please, please, please. Actually, wait, we're gonna get that. That's next game. After Miles Morales, I have to play that game first. I was skeptical at first when it came to the story, but after playing it myself, I kinda liked the fact that Martin Lee was not the major villain the entire time. The twist with Doc Ock being predictable, but it's just so sad to see a kind and sweet old man soon turn into a bitter, horrifying monster, willing to do anything, to sacrifice anyone to put his arch nemesis behind bars. And finding out that him and Osborn were the reason that Mr. Negative got his powers gave him a good reason to leave Oscorp and become independent. It also gives a great connection to Mr. Negative, because when you fight him, he says he's repairing an old debt to someone. The question is, who? Dr. Octopus. because he wants to make up for his mistakes with Mr. Negative. Not only that, but when he forms Sinister Six, it's not a mutual hatred to, I want to kill Spider-Man, even though it kinda is. He actually is looking for a way to cure some of their problems, like freeing Rhino from his cell or turning Electro into pure energy. It's logical thinking. It makes complete sense, and you can actually miss this if you don't care about the story. It also foreshadows Miles pretty well, but I feel like they just shoehorned him in because of the Spider-Verse movie. Not to say he's a bad character, far from it, but I think near the end of the game where he just randomly gets powers and then he's like, hey Pete, I got something to show you, I'm Spider-Man now, isn't that weird? I felt like that was just entered in the last moment just to give Spider-Man 2 a lot more playability. But still, the story is good, which is why I'm gonna give it an A rank. Graphics are up next, and we have come a long way from 8-bit video games. Look how beautiful this game is. Yes, I know I'm running this on a PS5, and yes, it renders out beautifully, but even on the original console, the PS4, is just so beautiful! All of this is being rendered out at the same time. There was no loading screens whatsoever, except for when you go inside buildings, and that is so cool! Even with the costumes you get, sometimes varying in style depending on where they come from, either comic book origin, or movie origin, or even an own original take on a new costume, they don't feel out of place, they all feel natural in a part of the world. It's like the Super Mario Odyssey comparison I did in my Sonic Frontiers review, except Spider-Man actually pays attention and does it and goes beyond with it! But that's in the next section, that's with the content. As for the graphics, I can't believe I'm going to say this, and I'm usually not a fan of realistic graphics. I'm more of a gameplay over graphics kind of cat, but God, it's so beautiful! Some of the NPCs do look weird, but the NPCs are not going to interact with them much. I'm only mentioning this because some of the human faces are absolutely beautiful. And that's what this game is, beautiful. Look at the Electro fight, look at the Scorpion fight, look at the final fight with Dr. Otto Octavius. Look at me just swinging through the city. You know your game is beautiful when I'd rather swing through the city instead of taking the fast travel. There's also another reason why I like to swing through the city, but we'll get into that later. No competition. This may be on a more powerful console, but it's gonna get the S rank. Content's up next, and this is something that every Spider-Man game needs. You could have the greatest Spider-Man story of all time, but if you don't have anything to do afterwards, whether that be collectibles or suits to unlock, then no one will want to play a Spider-Man game. Luckily, this game has tons to collect. First off, there are a total of 44 story-based missions. If you just focus on the story stuff, it would take you about 23 hours to complete. But that's not all. There's also side missions you can do. They can range from catching criminals to going inside bases to even finding some pigeons to collect. I really love these side missions. They really make you feel like Batman. And that's something I think most Iron Man games are missing. They usually focus on the combat and the story, but never some of the side stuff like stalking people to take some pictures for a recon mission, or even doing some science stuff. But you must be wondering, what's the point of these missions? Complete missions, you get experience points and tokens, which you can use to upgrade your skill tree, upgrade your equipment, and even unlock some suits, with a total of 47 suits. 45 if you're playing on the original version. A lot of these are references to Spider-Man's past, and I absolutely love them. My favorite one being Tobey Maguire's suit, but I think that's more of a DLC thing, so for the sake of this review, I like the stealth suit. The green just absolutely pops. It's so sexy. In fact, not gonna lie, this was the very first game I 100% complete casually. Casually! That should tell you about the quality of a game. This is not like Sonic Forces. This is a game filled to the brim with content, passion, and just fun gameplay. None of the side quests feel tedious to me. Except for Taskmasters. Taskmaster was more focused on different types of skill, whether that be speed, combat, or stealth. These were pretty frustrating at first to complete, but so satisfying to 100% complete them. Especially when during one of my attempts, I got to heal something that I never thought I'd heal my entire life in this Spider-Man game.
And Spidey takes the silver in the Crazy Psycho Olympics.
The references just don't stop there. They can be found all over New York City, from the pizzeria having the Spider-Man pizza theme to even this moment where they make fun of Spider-Man 2. You got some guts, game. If I keep on talking about the content, I'm going to skip over the gameplay segment, which is why I'm going to give the content an A rank. None of it feels tedious or unsatisfying to complete. They all feel like they belong here, and even when some of them feel challenging and hard, it's just so easy to do once you get the flow of it. You don't feel like it's the game's mistake, you feel like it's your mistake, and it drives you to get better and better and better, so that way you can get more collectibles, to get more suits, to get more upgrades, to get more variety out of the game. Speaking of which, let's get into the gameplay segment right now, before I completely miss over why I love the content so much. Next up is the bread and butter of all video games, the gameplay. Before I talk about the actual combat of the game, I just want to say something about the web slinging. This website is the best game to ever have my entire life even though I'm second playing Sky 5 at the same time! I'm not exaggerating here, the web swinging here was so damn satisfied. I feel like Insomniac went to a meth lab, filled it up with crack, and absolutely took all the cocaine with them. I need more allegory jokes. What I'm trying to say is the web swinging here is just the best damn thing in the game. You remember in the content section when I talked about how I love swinging through web instead of going through fast travel? Well, that's also because... oh my god! If I were to describe the web swinging in the game, it would be impossible for me to do, because you have to feel it to believe it. And it gets even better in the sequel? I know a lot of people are going to disagree, saying that Spider-Man 2 is a lot more realistic and fun, but screw off. As long as there's a building nearby, or a tree to fly by, or even some posts you can jump off of, you can just web swing there. Now, it's not completely unlimited. As I literally just mentioned like 5 seconds ago, there has to be something in the air for you to swing by, i.e. a building, a tree, a dildo. And even in the buildings, when web swinging is restricted, you can still swing around and have some fun with it. Now that I took my condom off, let's actually go and talk about the combat of the... Okay, yes, there are some stealth sections in the game that I was dreading to talk about. I've heard horror stories about how these are the worst parts of the game, and yes, they are the worst parts of the game. It's not that bad. Let me explain. In some parts of Spider-Man media, we sometimes cut to Spidey's friends sneaking inside some buildings and stealing something for Spidey, or taking pictures of Spidey, whether Spidey wants to or not. So it's no wonder that Insomniac wanted to incorporate that part of Spider-Man's franchise into the game itself, and to be honest with you, they're not that bad. Oh yeah, sure, despite what my Let's Play showed you, I died a couple of times here and there. But to be honest with you, it's a nice change of pace. As much as I love the combat in Spider-Man, I also don't mind these stealth segments because I also see it as another way. Practice for the actual stealth segments in the game when you do Taskmaster's challenges. Plus, halfway through the game, you have abilities other than just sneaking around and making some noises. Miles can cause some electronics to go off, MJ can throw a Spider-Man tracing beeping device, and shock enemies to send them to their graves. But when it comes to these stealth segments of the game, I do agree that they are the worst parts of the game, but not something that I would be about. Yeah, I know, I over-exaggerate my emotions, don't be mad at me. It's time for the combat. And I love the combat! If the Arkham games taught us how it feels to be Batman when it comes to combat, then the Spider-Man games taught us how it feels to really be Spider-Man. You'll be fighting and juggling a group full of enemies in a combat system that is so damn satisfying to use. You got a couple of punches, a couple of kicks, you can bring them in the air, you can use a Spidey gadget to cover them in web to turn the tides on them, and my favorite, the abilities. Oh, the abilities. If you remember in the content section, I talked about how you can unlock some costumes throughout your adventure. Not only do some of these costumes look visually amazing, but you can actually gain abilities from these. And if there's a costume that you like, but you don't like the ability on them, you can actually swap out the abilities while keeping the costume you like. An absolute brilliant move on Insomniac's part, encouraging customization for the player, whether that be for a visual effect or for combat effect. You already know my favorite, but I might as well tell you my second favorite costume in the game. I really like the Avengers Infinity War costume because of how accurate it looks to the movie, and the photo negative costume, something that I wish was unlocked throughout the game instead of something you could just unlock in general. But I'm not complaining, it's such a cool suit. At the start of the game, you'll be very powerful, but still weak enough to feel like that you need more in your arsenal. But near the end of the game, assuming that you 100% unlock Spidey's movesets on the skill tree, oh, you'll be a monster! That being said, near the end of the game, it shits the bed. It happened again. I thought they patched this out, and I think it's just exclusive to some of the Sable Soldiers, because this never happened to me with some of the other goons, but for some reason, they'll just get trapped completely, unable for me to hit them. Now, it wasn't Cat Decora's levels that bad where I had to reset the whole level just to fight them, but I did have to use some of the suit's special powers to kill them through a wall, and it was really reoccurring. I got these glitches back to back, not gonna lie, of them just being stuck in a wall. I thought they patched this out considering that this is the, well, remastered version, you know, taking care of glitches and stuff, but it was prevalent in the original, and I guess they never figured out how to fix it in the remastered. I really hope they fix this by the time we get to Miles Morales or even Spider-Man 2, but this is just... it's kind of funny, not gonna lie. What more is there to be said? The web swinging, the combat, the unlockables, the map progression, everything is just so good, which is why I'm gonna give the gameplay, you know what? F it. S rank. This game earned the S rank. If I casually 100% of the game just by playing it, then you've done something beautiful. You feel like Spider-Man, you feel good collecting the collectibles, and you feel absolutely fantastic playing the game. Need I say more? No? Good. Then it's on to the final segments. Finally, we come to the thing that accompanies all video games. The music, the bops, the things you listen to as you realize that Spider-Man has gone through hell, and this is actually one of the few Spider-Mans that has gone through less hell. For now, let's start off with the most iconic theme of the game, Spider-Man's main theme. New York City's main theme when you're swinging across the town. The Sinister Six theme. And if you ask me, the best track in the game? Well, obviously it's the main theme, so I kind of f***ed that up there. So let's listen to something a little bit more somber. No going back after all. When you want action, the game will give you action. When you want calmness, the game will give you calmness. When you want intense, the game will give you intense. When you want to feel sad, the game will make you cry your eyes out. The music is so good to listen to. But not gonna lie, it's kinda generic. I'm sorry. It's just some of the background themes kinda sound like something I hear from Batman or Wolverine or from a superhero film, which is why the music is begrudgingly gonna get a C rank. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's not bad. I'm telling you it's not bad, but it just feels generic. Except for the main Spider-Man theme. That is an earworm that is never coming out of my brain. I wanted it to be an S rank. Why, music? Why? While I hate the grade that I gave this game, I desperately wanted to give it a freaking S rank. I can't deny that the game is still fantastic, even with my awful ranking. The gameplay, the collectibles, the combat. It makes you feel like Spider-Man. I love this game from head to toe. I love this game and everything that it has to offer. And if you're a Spider-Man fan, you'll enjoy this game too. Now, it doesn't have my favorite suit, the black suit, but it's still got plenty of customization for you, from power-ups to costumes to even your gadgets. And the story is such a simple Spider-Man story. It is so refreshing to see that after all the MCU adventures that Spider-Man's been having the last few years. Where the Shadows may have its own decisions to make, Shadow Dimensions may have kickstarted the Spider-Verse into the public eye before the Spider-Verse was introduced. But Marvel's Spider-Man made everyone remember why we love Spider-Man in the first place. And that's something that's never, ever, ever gonna change with this game. This is why I gave it the A rank, even though it should be a freaking S rank. But if you don't have this in your collection right now, go out, go grab it, and go have some fun. As for me, I got another Spider-Man game to get to, before I can get to the peak of peak when it comes to my favorite saga in Spider-Man. But until next time, I'm Mr. Galaxy Cat, and this has been my review of Spider-Man PS4 Remastered. Do you agree with my opinions? Do you disagree with my opinions? Let me know in the comments down below. Either way, I'm glad that you stopped by to watch my review, and peace out, members of Team Shadow. Please never stay catty. Live life your own way. Stay safe through these trying times. I see you all in our castle. Until next time, adieu, everybody.